Now, a UFO cult is leading a campaign against female genital mutilation. Interesting. Now, some facts about female genital mutilation. It's estimated that 3 million girls, mostly in Africa and Asia, are victims of this, where part of their genitals are sliced off, literally, without any sort of anesthetic, which is, in my opinion and most people's opinion, barbaric and horrible. So here comes this UFO cult. Now, their leader is known as Rael. Built this cult on the idea that humans were created by extraterrestrials to enjoy untrammeled sexual pleasure. Hilarious. And so, according to that doctrine, the practice of genital mutilation is obviously wrong and has to be stopped. The aliens will not approve. They've backed an initiative called Clitorade in order to build a hospital in Burkina Faso. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Okay, I have to check. So they can do reconstructive surgery on victims of genital mutilation. Now, there's an important note that Raw Story reports that while this surgery can restore self-image to females, women that have actually had to undergo this, according to some doctors, you might risk further damage. So just keeping that in mind. Now, this movement had actually had some success in reducing the number of mutilations in that country starting from 1996 when they pushed this initiative. Now, it says that by 2011, the UN found that fewer than a fifth of girls under 10 had been cut, compared with 80% between 20 and 49. And I want to get your thoughts on this UFO cult and what they're doing.
Well, okay. I'll let Steven go first.
Okay. Well, I mean, like, FGM is like it's a really big problem. It's certainly not covered by the global media. It's not really covered that well in the countries that are really affected by it. One of my fellow PhD students, she's particularly focusing on this issue of how FGM is covered in these countries, and it is a huge problem, and it serves no real purpose. I mean, kind of male circumcision, there's certain medical, arguments for that, but for the female genital mutilation, the only purpose of it is so that the women don't have any pleasure whilst having sex. So that's the only purpose, and it's just done for religious reasons. That's the only reason it's done. So the fact that this cult, and really, I think the only reason they're being a cult and being labelled as a bit crazy and not taken as seriously is because they think that aliens created humans, for the purpose of having sex. If they just said, no, we think humans have evolved and the whole purpose is to procreate, and that's why, then they'd be much more credible. They bring in the whole UFO thing, and it's a bit strange. But I mean, the fact, despite their crazy belief, if it's leading to them actually doing something positive and helping people, then that's brilliant. As you said, the number of female genital mutilations has gone down in these countries, and if this cult has had an impact on that number coming down, then all the better.
All right, Sean.
All right, so there's obviously two aspects to this story. There's the silly and the serious. Yep. I will start with the silly. So it's a UFO cult that believe we were genetically engineered by aliens, which is awesome and should not be laughed at, because I hold out a 1% chance that we were genetically engineered by aliens, particularly Marsoids in my estimation. But yeah, like, they're actually doing good. Like, they're helping. Like, they found a cause that they like for whatever reason, because according to them, like, aliens made us so we can enjoy sex all the time, or whatever Jeff's exact quote was. And they're actually
sexual pleasure.
Exactly.
I didn't realize that we were being trammeled.
But they're actually doing good. And to me, the funniest part about this story isn't the weird alien cult doing good. It's the United Nations doing a study on how the weird alien cult is doing good, when isn't the United Nations' job to kind of stop things like this from happening? So I think it's a great story. It just happens to be about some weirdos doing good things for weird reasons. And by the way, the guy's name is Ray L. Like, what are you, from Krypton?
Well, I don't think I don't think the UN study was just focusing on this particular group's efforts. It was just a general study on how female genital mutilation has decreased over the last couple of decades. Ooh, let's focus on this kind of bunch of oddballs and study them and see what impact they're having. It was just a more general study on the issue.
Right. One thing that I wanted to point out. Now, I said earlier that this was a very honest cult, and I want to kind of go into that a little bit, and just kind of put in my commentary, because I think cults are literally about the leader trying to have sex with everybody, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but that's what I think. Like, cults are made primarily so that the person can have sex with your wife or all the other cult members. And so this guy, what's really funny about this cult is this guy is like, yeah, we're all about sex, because the aliens totally want us to have sex. So yeah, but the serious point is that since they're not hiding it, they're actually doing something good from it. And unlike most cults, they are doing something good. Now, like, the interesting thing about this is that this genital mutilation you mentioned was religious, right? What do religions usually start out as? Cults, tiny cults. So this cult is fighting against another cult, and their stupid religious practices. So I think this story is just 100% fascinating.
Right. And the thing is, like, a lot of people, or some people, I guess, are going to say we're not being very respectful of the female genital mutilators' religious beliefs, and that's true.
No. Anybody's religious belief that involves cutting off a part, I don't know. Like,
I
don't agree with it.
That's what I was going to say. That's true. I'm not being respectful of your belief. Like, a circumcision for males, like, you can make an argument, like, for that.
Issue, then yes.
Right. But it's not a long-term issue for dudes, and I'm sure we're going to get anti-circumcisers in the comments too. But like that's
an okay position to have, to be honest with you, because I think it should be a personal choice.
Right. But
the thing is that a lot of people don't get that choice, especially girls that are, around 10 or 13 years old. There was a girl in this article that went through the surgery. She said she was the one that said that they don't use anesthesia. They take a traditional blade and they slice the thing off when when she was 13 years old.
Like, what are you doing? Like, at least circumcision usually happens when you're a baby, and like you don't remember that shit. But like, you're doing this to a human person that can remember what's happening to them, and that makes it a lot worse. And you're not using anesthesia. Yeah, you're doing something horribly, horribly wrong, and it should be banned.